All right, parents, so today we are covering topic 11.1 in our Pearson book. Remember, you can use the worksheet or students can do it online. It is your choice. So we are covering today patterns to just 30. So we're going to be looking at a 100 chart today, but this 100 chart is cut off and it only goes to 30. So when we are looking at a 100 chart, we want to make sure kiddos understand that when they move up the 100 chart, it counts by 1. Okay, and we're going to have them recognizing numbers today on that chart. So it's really good if you can have them count aloud all the way to 30, pointing to each number, making sure they can read and recognize those numbers while they're counting. Okay, and then we want to see if they recognize any patterns when they're counting. So for example, when they are counting by ones, they should be able to recognize that we're counting up by 1. Okay, and if you see any patterns that they recognize, like for example, they might notice that in this column, there's ones in the ones place, there's twos in the twos place, there's threes in the threes place. Here they might recognize that it's counting by tens with those decade numbers. Whatever that they see there is fine. This is kind of more of a explore type of introduction. Okay, so on page 2 of our lesson, we've got this guided practice video. We've got this guided green box lesson here. Now, there is something you guys can do on your website. If you guys want them to watch a video, there is a video called Visual Learning right here. And in this video, it covers that green box.
How can you use patterns to count? Let's find out. What do you see? There is a number chart from 1 through 30. What else do you notice about the chart?
So now parents, we want the kiddos to recognize some of these colored boxes that are the same to see if they can figure out why they've colored those boxes the same. You could also ask them a question, something like, well, if these are blue, why do you think they're blue? Why do you think they match? See if they can pull out some of those patterns.
Some of the numbers have been colored. Why have the numbers 1 and 21 been colored the same color? They both have 1 in the number when you say it. What do the other colored squares show on the chart?
So there's always this little function here that the kiddos can try if they do it on the website themselves. I'm going to keep letting this video play, but again, you're going to want them to recognize that, well, when we say 2 and 22, they're colored the same because we're both saying 2. That would be why they didn't color these N. However, they can recognize that the place value is the same there in that ones place.
They show other numbers that sound alike. When something is repeated, we call this a pattern. Why is the middle row not colored? These numbers do not sound alike. What has been colored the same in this chart? The numbers that are the same have been colored the same. The part of each number that has been colored is called the ones. The numbers going across are in rows. Count by ones along the top row. What happens to the ones as you count along the row? They change each time. The numbers going down are in columns. What happens to the ones in the columns? They stay the same. The part that has not been colored is the tens. What happens to the tens as you count along the row?
So now parents, we want them to recognize that the tens place, that first number listed here in this row, is a 1 all the way up until it changes from the tens place into the next decade number, 20. Same thing here, we want them to recognize that as we're counting in the 20s, we're saying the tens place is staying the same with the 2 in that tens place all the way until we get into that next decade number, 30.
They stay the same until the last one. Count by tens down a column. What happens to the tens in the columns? They change each time. Now you can use these patterns to help you count.
Okay, so this is just a little quick visual video for the students. I feel like it always is a great introduction to a lesson. And again, those green boxes that I'm going to be showing you up here really just reviews that visual learning video that I just showed you. So this is something you can continue to talk about, but that video matches this exactly. So now we're going to have students count aloud all the numbers in the top row and have them listen to the following numbers in the bottom row. And then we're going to draw a circle around the number in the top row and the part of the number in the bottom row that sound alike. So when we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the bottom row we have circled the 1 here because it says 21. 1 and 1 are the same in the ones place. 22, we're going to circle the 2 because 2 and 2 is the same in the ones place. 23, we're going to circle the 3 because 3 and 3 is the same in the ones place, and so on. So students can trace these numbers as well. Okay, so again, now we're going to be filling in some missing numbers, and some students are going to be able to see patterns and be able to do it right away. Some students are going to need to count each box and go through that counting pattern. Okay, again, developmentally, it just depends on where your kiddo is. And we just want them solving it. So do we want them to build to be able to find those patterns and see those patterns easily? Yes, absolutely. But we do want them either way to get that problem solved. So in this box right here, we have a bunch of missing numbers. Kiddos should be able to say, what's the first number we start counting with? 1. So students should be writing in these boxes those missing numbers. 1, 2. This is the only reason why I don't like to do it on Pearson is because it is hard to write with this little tool that they give you. Okay, so if you're doing it, this is good penmanship practice for our numbers still if you're doing it on worksheets. Okay, and so again, now we filled in those missing numbers. You're going to have your kiddo keep counting all the way into the 20s, and we're going to recognize the pattern. So here we've got a 5, a 5. What should be in the ones place here? Students should be able to recognize that it should be a 5. All of these should match here. Okay, and again, as they can continue to count, what comes after 25? Well, they should be able to say 26. We can say what comes, how do we know that's correct? Let's check our ones place. There's a 6, and we need a 6 here. So we got that right, and so on. Okay, you're going to do the same thing on numbers 5 and 6. Again, really trying to get them to recognize those patterns by counting and also looking at the columns. So checking the rows, making sure they're in order, and checking the columns. We want those ones places to match. You want to have that conversation about the tens place and the ones place. It just can be a conversation though today. Doesn't have to be super in-depth as we haven't covered place value greatly. Okay, same thing on this page. Again, we're going to be filling in the missing numbers, and we're going to be filling in the missing number down here as well, and same thing down here. Okay, so make sure that when students are doing this, they should be able to explain the pattern that they're seeing. So you can pick a couple numbers off the chart and ask them to explain. So for example, okay, you could ask the student, what's the missing number? The student would say, the missing number is 7. Okay, so what's missing below the 7? Some students will know that we directly below is going to be 10 more. That's 17. We're going to cover that more in this lesson. Some students, again, will need to count. If they can recognize 10 more, fantastic. Okay. We also want them recognizing again that if there's a 7 here in this box, then there's a 17 here in this box, that the 7 and the 7 are the same. They don't change all the way down the column. So we should have them be able to easily explain what the missing number would be. You could even ask them, say, what would go down in this column then? Okay, just a little bit further understanding. So that's it for math today, guys. Again, the vocabulary and the talking is very important in this lesson. Make sure your kiddo is able to explain it to you. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much.